No matter what you're upset about in the World of Warcraft, I'm going to make it all better. If you're over in Classic and the 40-man PvP raids are just wrecking shop and ruining your playtime, if you're on retail and you're already ready for Season 2 to get started, and it just seems like it's taken forever, whatever's got you crimped up in the World of Warcraft, I'm about to make it all better. Ready? 3, 2, 1, boom. Oh, yeah, that's better. Just sit there in the darkness and let those beams hit you. And just work on you a little bit. Look at that. Huh, my handsome man? What a guy. But no matter how much love and support you give them, you just can't trust them. I mean, men these days. Huh, ladies? Nightmare. Turns out that my loving man cheated on me and went and did an interview with this home-wrecking slut, what's her name? Heather Newman, queen of the whores. And they had themselves a nice little chit-chat. What we're talking about here is Mythic Plus struggling, is the whole point of this article. You come down here and the opening sentence just puts the whole mode on blast. Players are dropping out of World of Warcraft's hardest dungeon mode in droves. And Blizzard's trying to stop the bleeding. Okay. I think a more accurate description of the situation is that players are delving out of World of Warcraft's Mythic Plus. Yeah, I think delves coming in really set the stage for a lot of players who aren't interested in that hyper-competitive, higher gear score treadmill. They could just go do some delves, still get some good gear. And let's be honest, the nice thing about retail is you don't really even need good gear to go do most of the world content. The only real reason you need high-level gear in retail is if you're doing high-level content. That's it. A drastically shrinking player pool is the first charge. Interesting, we're going to talk about a ton of shit in this article, but still, I want to point out, Oklahoma gang, here we are, January 16th in the year of our Lord, 2025, and still, not one YouTube content creator, not one PC gamer interview. I mean, the amount of interviews and shit these people have done, and still not one word on how well the War Within sold or what the sales numbers are. Now, if we're going to talk about participation in an expansion, one number that some people might say is probably the most important number is how well did it sell? How many people gave you money and said, I want to try that? But apparently, in all of the universe, and most certainly across all content creators and our hard-charging gaming journalists here, I'm the only one. Hell, at least ask the question. Even if they tell you we don't really want to answer the question, that would tell you something, right? You just ask the question. No one will even ask it. I get that they may stonewall you on the answer. It's crazy to me. We talk about all this participation shit, and Mythic Plus participation, Delve participation, PvP participation, yada, yada, yada. How did the War Within sell compared to other expansions? What's our starting number? Because if you've been playing World of Warcraft at all, you know that we start with that launch week, right? Boom. That's when it's huge and everybody's everywhere. That's the peak of the expansion participation. And then from there, it's a slow, steady decline. Now, it's been better, apparently, since Dragonflight. And it seems like maybe with the War Within, that's the same thing, because Dragonflight and the War Within have received just an outstanding content cadence. They go to the Raider.io boys, and basically they say the findings are sobering, especially if you compare it to Dragonflight. And then we come down here and we compare to Dragonflight specifically, we're seeing a pretty sharp decline in Mythic Plus participation in the War Within. What they're really complaining about is the steep drop-offs after week one. So you get this booming week one, people come in, and then it's just drops off a cliff after that. Let's point out here, a ton of people dipped out for Classic Anniversary. People dipped out to go play hardcore or, do the OnlyFans shit or whatever that whole thing's about, the reality TV show, WoW. And then Delves, right? A lot of people are just happy with that. That combination of factors is going to lead to a lot of drop-off, but only a few of those are Mythic Plus's problem. Right? There's nothing you're going to be able to do to adjust Mythic Plus to people that want to go play Classic, right? So to me, I think it's a very healthy attitude to see them, and I was glad to see him come out and say, hey, we're not really looking at participation metrics. We're just kind of looking for community feedback on how the people that like Mythic Plus enjoy it and make sure it's good for them, and that it's in a healthy state overall. But I think they're recognizing that when we used to talk about the WoW community, we were talking about us, right? All of us playing WoW. That's not the case anymore. I mean, there's like a civil war between some of the retail and classic community now, where they're like, your mode sucks, and no, your mode sucks, right? I mean, we are spread out over all different types of WoW. So the community is kind of an interesting concept. And let's be honest, the genie ain't going back in the bottle. This is the way it is now. And so I really think you got to be careful when you start comparing, you know, here it's like in Battle for Azeroth, there were 50% more players doing Mythic Plus. Of course, nobody in Battle for Azeroth was playing Classic WoW. Nobody was playing Hardcore or SOD. No one was playing Plunderstorm. I mean, look, I'm all for being a doomer. I'm a doomer about some things. I'd love to hop on a nice doom train. I'm all in. I'm just not seeing how you could, with any confidence, say that Mythic Plus is really having a hard time. If anything, I would think when you consider all of the content out there, and let's just remember, I'm just talking about all the different versions of WoW and things that you can do on World of Warcraft with Delves and Plunderstorm and stuff like that. We also have to remember during this Season 1, we got a brand new Path of Exile, a Marvel's game. I mean, there's a ton of stuff going on outside of the World of Warcraft that is pulling people out of it. So, you know, I mean, to me, these numbers don't look that bad. And look, I've had my issues with Mythic Plus. I mean, the gear treadmill to me is just, it's not, I've had my complaints. I got my complaints. I'm not trying to sit here and just white knight for Blizzard here, but I just, when you think about all the things that could be going on and accounting for some of this drop off, it seems pretty reasonable to me. And yeah, we're at week 14 now. I mean, here in a little over a month, we'll be heading into Undermine. So it makes sense that a lot of people are kind of dying out. And, you know, comparing it to BFA season, I don't know that you could do that. Anyway, the next problem they bring up a little further down here is they talk to Ja Raphael. I hope I said that right. Ja, old Ja. So our boy Ja here comes in and just talks about the problems with the meta comps. And it's interesting because what do you think right when I say there's a meta? You roll your eyes. Dude, there's always been a meta. That's what I say. There's always been a meta. Okay, yeah, there's a meta. There's always going to be a meta. I think this is, if you're doing keys up here at this level, you are such a minority that just let them do whatever. Let them find the meta and do it. And they love it. That's just what they like to do. Let them do it. Ja talks about how this season was different and that as his coordinated group, I mean, this is a coordinated Raider IO group, they rapidly discovered that their group's lack of key abilities to handle specific dungeon mechanics without swapping to the other, you know, the more meta classes was utterly punishing. And look what happened. They quit. We quit the season early. And this is what I try to express to people that I think sometimes can't hear me. Because look, there's guys that just love crushing keys. Okay, there are literally guys that play the alpha, the beta, the pre-patch, and then all of the season, all week, they are just in there crushing keys. There's guys on the Undermine PTR servers doing keys on there with their group right now. They're already running keys for next season. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for those people because they give the feedback on what's too much or whatever. Now, we can argue on how effective that feedback has been because they gave all that same feedback for season 1 and it turned into a shit show. But hey, at least there's someone out there trying, I suppose. But this is what I'm always trying to tell the Get Good community. You can tell people just get good, but a lot of people won't. They'll just quit. They'll be like, this is just unreasonably difficult. I don't want to have to play X, Y, or Z class or whatever the issue is, and they'll just go play another game or they'll go play Classic. If you want high participation, you need to consider that a lot of people, if it gets too difficult, they'll just stop. And that's what's happened. And look, this is what happened with one of the highest ranking teams out there. I mean, these guys are in the 1 percentile, and they were like, screw this, we quit. Go meta or go home. And they talk about how more and more people are just refusing to take any other class that's not meta. And you know what's sad is this trickles down into even lower level keys. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say it shouldn't. You could do a plus 12 with any class if you took your time and really learned it. But getting invited to that plus 12 can take hours. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. The difference between having a group and having your group of friends or your guild or whatever and going in there and trying to pug is just night and day difference. And people can't even get in the groups because they're not one of the meta classes. And so you can sit there and say how things should be. It shouldn't matter if you're a meta class. Every class should be able to complete a 12, and that's probably true. However, you won't be able to get an invite often because people are looking for those meta classes because they're so overtuned. And that has been very true in the War Within Season 1. They talk about how they understand that there's frustration with trying to find and get a group, and this is what I've been saying. We need a queue system for Mythic Plus. We need a queue system. How do we not have that already? You queue up and you say, I need to do a Siege of Borealis number 2. And once you beat a time of 2, now you can sign up for a Siege of Borealis 3. And you can just pick 2 or 3 dungeons that you're trying to go. And once you time it, then you can do the next level up. People are always like, well, just go make your own group. Just go make your own group. A lot of people don't want to mess with all that. They don't want to have to look through it all. They don't want to have to scan through your eye level and all the shit that comes with it. They just want to log on and play the game. And it's 2025, folks. There's plenty of games that you can log on and play. You don't have to sit there and look through IO scores and, really trying to figure out what comp and do I have a lust and all this shit. They just want to log on and queue up. It just needs to happen. It kills 2 birds with 1 stone. It kills everyone, grouping up and getting declined, and it crushes the whole meta slave ideology. Okay, you're still going to have that, and you can still have private groups, and people can do it in their own little guilds and stuff, but there needs to be a Mythic Plus Dungeon Finder. 100% needs to happen. It's no problem. You have everything in the game there. It's just going to take some coding and some tweaking to get it all tuned up, but it needs to happen immediately. And you're solving one of the biggest hurdles to Mythic Plus participation is finding a group, especially in a pug. And then here we go. Here's the complaint I've made about this whole season. Mythic Plus is harder than ever. Look here at this chart. Okay, this is Mythic Plus runs every week, going all the way back to where we at Shadowlands Season 1. That's the white one right here. Now, remember, you're going to see up here, Dragonflight Season 1, 3.17 mil. And then you see the War Within Season 1, and you're like, oh shit, that's all the way down to here. And oh, that's catastrophe. And there's a plummeting, whatever. Drama. But remember, we had a keystone squish, so a lot of keys that used to count as Mythic Plus are now just Mythic Zeros. So the people doing that content, those numbers added into here, where now as they don't count as Mythic Plus. So that's going to be a pretty dramatic reduction in number of Mythic Plus runs right there, just from the keystone squish. On top of that, remember, in the War Within, we also have delves. You can really only compare the War Within Season 1 with Dragonflight Season 4 because Dragonflight Season 4 also had the keystone squish. So these are very accurate. Now, maybe you would say you'd like to see a lot higher number, something up here, right? But you remember there's no keystone squish with these. Plus, the War Within has delves and, a lot of versions of classic WoW and more versions of WoW on the way and Plunderstorm. So I don't think it's as bad as people say, but what they're talking about is just the steady downward participation all the way down, and how, you used to have more people participating late in the season. Again, I think there's a lot of factors outside of Mythic Plus, but I will say 100%, and I've said it from the beginning, I think it's completely overtuned. I think Season 1 is completely overtuned, and if you come back and look at some of the most successful seasons, people always mention Dragonflight Season 3 as one of the most successful Mythic Plus seasons. Here we are, Season 1 right here, Dragonflight Season 2, look at that, all the way down to 2.27. And then you had a bounce back up to almost launch level participation, Season 1 participation in Season 3. And what was so awesome about Season 3? Well, it was really easy. That's probably the quickest way to say it. I mean, I could go through a bunch of the dungeons were pretty cool. The affixes were pretty manageable. But if you go look up old posts on Reddit about Season 3, you'll see people talking about how easy it was. And right here, the top comment, I agree it's been easier, but I love it. I'm actually having fun. There's a competitive community. And for those guys, the stress of it and the action and the cortisol is the fun. They like that competition. They like the challenge. For a lot of people, they want to play a video game to relax. They want to go get the gear. They want to do the dungeon, but they're not looking to be stressed out. And also what happens is sometimes those competitive players get mixed with those people that are looking to have fun, and then you could get some real bad interactions there. So was Season 3 too easy? Yeah, maybe. But again, it's scalable content. And the people that really wanted to push it high, they did. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. When I say you want to turn it down, if you care about participation, you're going to get a lot more of it if it's not quite as hard. And I don't think that's like some hot take. And there's a shining example right here in Dragonflight Season 3. We come back to the article and you've got Raider.io players talking about how they think it's too difficult. What do you think that translates to Pug Life? And so I can't say it enough. We need a dungeon finder for Mythic Plus. It's going to solve a ton of problems. It'll make the game mode way more accessible, and there's no reason not to have it. And right away, you know what? You're going to need what? Tanks and healers. That's going to be your bottleneck. So how do you incentivize more tanks and healers to do it? Well, give them some extra vault rolls, I say. Say you do 4 to 6 random Mythic Plus runs through the dungeon finder, and hey, now you get, 4 rolls of vault loot or whatever. I don't know. But you're going to have to incentivize tanks and healers right out of the gate because you know that's going to be the bottleneck. We need that group finder, family. We need that Mythic Plus group finder. I don't understand why you guys won't support me on this, but I'm ready to start a crusade. Get the horses out, get the banners, shine up the armor. We're starting a crusade on this idea, okay? It's time. Changes are on the way. They're already working on Season 2. Now, let's always temper the expectation because remember, we had a lot of people working on Season 1 and they were listening to the feedback from the community. And let's just be honest here. We've got Undermine coming in with all the cars and the new raid, and it all looks awesome. We got a ton of changes to Delves, a ton of class changes. They're gutting Augmentation Evoker, and God knows what else they're doing. And they're doing all of that, plus making changes to the Mythic Plus. It's going to be an absolute shit show. You and I both know it's going to be a shit show. That said, Undermine looks awesome, and it's going to be an awesome looking shit show, and it's going to be a lot of fun, but it's going to be a shit show. There's no way you're bringing in all this content and things are going to be all tuned up. Let's just be honest with each other here. And I'm just going to be honest with you when I encounter the good or the bad or the ugly. I'm going to tell you which one I think it is. That's just the way I approach the content. But let's do remember here, because we like to get all doomy about things, and I do too. I love a good doom train, like I said. However, let's remember that most games on Steam, go look at your top 100 games on Steam or whatever, they would kill to have the low participation that any one of these versions of World of Warcraft has. I mean, hell, even PvP. Even in WoW's lowest, it's still blowing the doors off most video games. One of the things that I've always hammered home in my content, and you guys know this, what do I tell you about WoW dungeons? There is nothing in all of gaming like World of Warcraft dungeons with the tank and the healer and the DPS and the shit going off everywhere. People are like, it's just dodging swirlies. Dude, it is so much more than that. It's cleansing, it's healing, it's popping your cooldowns and timing them up with the boss cooldowns and using your defensives, and it's crazy. And when it all comes together and you work together as a team, there's a very few video gaming experiences like it. I think it's awesome. And I say that as a pug. And I say that as someone who, has my criticisms of Season 1. But still, World of Warcraft dungeon content, there is nothing like it out there. Tell me one other game that's been able to produce anything even close to as awesome as WoW dungeon content.
Watch your feet.
They can't do it. To be a paladin and go in and heal your allies while they bash people's shit in, there's no other game to play. There's no place else to go. This one right here, Dark Flame Cleft. My God, just put me out of my misery now. Oh my God. This is going to be awful. This is going to be awful. I mean, the Rookery is going to be all right, but it'll be quick. The start in those hallways in Cinderbrew could get ugly. And I love Priory of the Sacred Flame. Come on, I'm a paladin. I think that is one of the most gorgeous dungeons ever developed in all of World of Warcraft. It is fantastic. Reminds me of Scarlet Monastery. You guys know how much I love it. But this one right here just put me out of my goddamn misery. Oh, no. Oh, no, family. Oh, this will not do. But a bunch of changes are coming. Oh, and you can also get this really cool mount, this Shredder tank, if you want to push to 2850, which I'm going to imagine most of us don't. But, maybe that'll entice a few more people to try for it. I'm not a big fan of the guy. I mean, this is a Horde mount. I'm not going to write that. That's a little beneath my paladin. But for those of you who just like it, or you just like that mount completion thing, here you go. How many? Huh? How many mounts have you spent hours and hours farming, and then once you got it, you hardly ever rode it? Yeah, I'm talking to you. You know who you are. Look, War Within Season 1 was not that great. It really wasn't. It just had a ton of problems, but I actually think that Mythic Plus Best Days could be ahead of it. And I really would just ask the community, I think we need to start making some noise on a dungeon finder for Mythic Plus. Keep all the old systems in place for people that prefer to do it that way. But I think adding a dungeon finder really addresses the getting denied for groups and the meta slaving, and just really allows people to play what they want to play. And I think would incentivize people to participate in the game mode, because they wouldn't have to go through all that applying for groups and get denied all night. They could just queue up, go do some fishing. Here's your queue pop. Good luck, champ. Get in there. And I think it would be very healthy for the community, and in particular, the pug community. You leave everything else for all the hardcores, and it doesn't hurt anybody to do that. So tone it down, add a dungeon finder, and let's all get in there and have some fun. I am greatly looking forward to the Undermine patch content. I plan to be very active in Season 2, and I'm looking forward to getting in there with your Oklahoma gang. So a lot more to cover and a lot more stuff to talk about till we get there, but I'll keep you all posted. Till then, take it easy. Oklahoma out.
You did it here. This is not enough. Thank you for your actions.